let's throw things into the news then. First thing we're going to talk about, this again, bear with us, everybody. This is like a month old because of everything that happened.
Yeah. A lot of this news is from like early August.
So
basically.
We're playing catch up. You know, some of this stuff is old news now, but this is a trailer for Nickelodeon All Star Brawl. The first thing I think you and I talked about from this was we couldn't believe a second one was coming out. That was like the first thing I think we talked to each other about in like Discord messages. You were like, "There's another? Really? Wow." I was really surprised there was even another one of this.
It's weird because like I feel like people liked. Yeah, the first one came out. Yeah, like a couple of years, 2 years ago or so. I think that sounds about right. And generally, people liked the game, like, but I don't think it did that well. I mean, maybe it sold well on release, but it had no legs. It like it came out, people played it for like a week or two, and then it was dead, and nobody played it again ever.
Exactly.
Like. So. And usually with fighting games, especially, you want them to have legs. You want to be able to add DLC, add more characters, like more stages, whatever else. And that game, at least as far as I know, I don't follow fighting game community very well. I don't really play them.
This is interesting. Keep going.
But yeah, to me, it seemed like it came out, it had like a little burst of like content and people talking about it for like a week or two after it came out, and then it was just dead.
Yeah, and I was like kind of going back and forth in a segment while you were talking to show the difference in quality. I mean, the game looks better visually. There's no doubt about it. They showed like the difference between the first game and this one. Visually, it looks better. I mean, it's a fighting brawl style game, battle royale brawl style game. Like, it looks really similar to all the others. Yeah, looks very similar to all the others. I don't know if they had a release date on here. I kind of want to skip to that.
It does look way better than the first one. The other thing about the first one is that like the game just like looked. The look of it was fine, but like the animations were really clunky and janky looking. The music was like really generic and kind of bad, to be honest. And it just felt like there was basically no money put into this game other than to develop like the game systems, the fighting itself, which was solid, but like everything there was like no. It's like a Nickelodeon like licensed product, and they had like no voice acting at all, barely for any of the characters. I don't think they got any of the original voice actors for the characters. And it's like, I mean, if you're gonna do this, you gotta, I mean, obviously you need money for that, and you probably need like the okay for Nickelodeon like on the license and stuff like that. But if you're gonna do something like this, like I feel like you gotta go in, you gotta get the voice actors for the characters, you gotta have some production value,
right?
And it just felt like the first one had that. This one, at least from that initial trailer, looks like maybe it's got a little more money behind it. We'll see.
Feels like the first one was like a trial run to a certain extent, where they're like, okay, like try this, see how it works, and they had enough to start with, in that it was popular enough where people were like excited about it, at least at release point, and there was no attraction beyond release point to stay with it. It feels like they're like, okay, well, it was popular on release. Maybe if we try again, we like improve the quality of it even further, and like we build up more excitement again. Maybe we can get that same kind of excitement on release and try and sustain it just a little bit longer. The nice thing about, right now it feels like, okay, obviously there's Smash and there's Brawlhalla. I totally forgot about the Warner Brothers one, but that one, I don't even remember the name anymore. It's really sad that I don't remember the name. Because I played it.
Oh God, yeah, I'm blanking on it.
Multiverses.
Too. Multiverses. That's it.
And then this, Multiverses. Ghost got it. Multiverses and this. So there's like a couple, these brawl style games. Multiverses actually you can't play it. You can't play it right
Yeah,
now.
they took down the beta.
They took down the beta, and they're doing a full release at some point, which
I think they said not until like early next year or something like that.
which is weird. I haven't seen a game run a beta for that long, release characters in the beta, and then just go, okay, we'll see it full release. And I'm like, what the hell? And I think I know why. Part of the reason for Multiverse is kind of a subtopic. That game nosedived really hard. So I think they're like, well,
another game that was super popular at release. That game like there was stories about that. That game had like, I forget, was it like 10 million downloads or something like that at release? Like
game was massive. Game was massive, and it was fun. Like I enjoyed playing it, but it nosedived. So it nosedived, and I think at some point the people in there were like, okay, well, we're gonna have to let's pull the plug and like do a big full release and get those people back, because if we do that now, maybe it won't be as good. I don't know. It's weird. That one's weird. But this one, it depends on when it releases. If this releases around the same time as like Multiverses releases, I'm a little bit worried about it, because I feel like Multiverses will have the bigger audience.
But, I mean, they gotta be careful too. Like, there's a lot of fighting games coming out this year. Obviously, this is a different style. It's the Smash style, but like you had Street Fighter 6 already come out this year. Mortal Kombat's coming out pretty soon, I think, in like a couple of months, and then Tekken 8 is also on the horizon. It's just like all these fighting games are coming out right now. So yeah.
Now there's no release date here. It just says pre-order now. I'm guessing when you pre-order, there's a release date on the pre-order, right? Like it doesn't show a release date on here. Like, I don't know. It's weird. There's no release date, at least that I could see. But I feel like if this game can do just that tiny bit better of post-release sustainability, like whether it's like quick updates or something to get the audience to stay, it could do all right. I think there is a market for maybe a third Brawl style game out there. I'm sure there is. It's just a question of who the third one's going to be. Is it going to be this? Is it going to be Multiverses? I feel like any more than 3 is going to be a problem. It's like, I don't know why, but like, for example, like take Battle Royales. I know it's a different game, but like, what are the top 3 Battle Royales right now? Fortnite, Warzone, Apex Legends. Are there any more? No. Why? Because 3 is a lot already. Yeah. It's like you look at like certain multiplayer, like live service styled games. Each genre, it feels like there's like
you can sustain a couple. One, two, or 3 maybe is about tops, and then
depending on the audience size, it feels like 3 is the most. Yeah. Like I don't see a lot of live service, even like MOBAs. Like now, League of Legends, Dota.
Smite's got a little bit, I think. Yeah,
that's it. It's really it. It's those ones, and you can't. It's hard to sustain if you're the 4th one coming in, unless you already have like a pre-built audience somehow. So, I don't know. I mean, it looks like they improved this game, so maybe there's something here, but it depends on their release.
I forgot, by the way, I couldn't find the second one on Steam, but I saw the original one. That game cost $50 on Steam. I thought it was cheaper than that. The original one.
50's too high.
Moly.
They got to bump that down to 40 or something.
Especially like the production, again, the production value on the first game was like complete crap. That game is not worth $50. That was like a $20 or $30 game in my opinion. Like,
yeah, you got to bring that price down, especially now. You've released the second one, just bring it to like $15. Just bring it down. But anyway, okay. I don't know. I don't have any other thoughts. I mean, there's a market for a third Brawl style game. I don't know if it's this.
Yeah.
Okay. This was from last month as well. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes delayed. When was it supposed to release before? Usually
it was supposed to release this. Their original plan was to release it in 2023, which would have been this year. But we've literally gotten 0 updates on the game this year, so this was kind of expected. It was like, yeah, they haven't talked about it at all. There's like no.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, when are they either gonna talk about the game or tell us that it's delayed? Because we haven't heard anything about this game in a while.
Q2 2024 it's pretty hefty as a delay potentially. It's pretty hefty. It depends, obviously. Maybe if it's the back half of that, that's a pretty hefty delay. You know?
It's like a six month delay.
Pretty hefty.
About.
But I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know if people are gonna care that it's delayed. I'm sure everybody's gonna be like, okay, cool, good stuff. Can't wait.
I mean, the Kickstarter for this game was like in like 2018 or 2019.
Exactly.
It's already been like 4 years, like 3 or 4 years since.
Yeah. At this point,
Make it take your time and make it good.
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
Don't be Mighty Number 9 or like one of those Kickstarters that came out and was just crap, right?
Why you gotta do that? For my Mighty Number 9. Ugh.
I'm sorry, that's the one that just comes to mind for me for like a Kickstarter project a lot of people were excited about, and
it was just
hugely
disappointing. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. I mean, honestly, if you've already waited 5 years, like, no, not 5. Well, 5 years. You could wait an extra 6 months at this point. I feel like is kind of how I think about it. And it's not like it's just like a Starfield kind of game that's going to have millions upon millions of players jumping in. You know, it's niche. You know, you're okay with some delay to wait on something like this.
Oh yeah.
I think Starfield's one of those games where people are just like, release it. That game's coming out next month, by the way.
That game's coming out in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. That game, Starfield's coming out real soon. As a side note.
I mean, the preload for it just came out like yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the hype for Eiyuden Chronicle has died down a ton because we've literally heard nothing about it since like the companion game, which I think I talked about briefly. It was like a little side scrolly, you know, action game, which was like, you know, nothing special. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
That came out, I think it was I want to say it was last year, or maybe
it was last year, by the way. No, yeah, it was last year.
It was last year. Yeah.
It was last year.
It was in like April I think it's in like April or May last year. So it's been over a year since we've heard literally anything about this. So, you know, if you're not staying up with the news cycle, then like there's not going to be much hype.
That's the problem too. That's the other problem with not just the delay, but this is the hard part with like publisher dev. You build tons of hype, you release your little companion game, people are excited, and they like, you play the companion game and you're thinking, oh, when am I going to play the real thing? Is it going to be like a year from now, 6 months? And they tell you, maybe another 2 years. And you're like, wait, what? Huh? What do you mean 2 years? If you're going to come out with a companion game, obviously you don't plan for a delay, but at the same time, you have to realize when you come up with like companion games, things like that, and you want to build up your main series, you probably want the companion game to line up in such a way where enough of the excitement can be sustained for something like this. It feels like it's too long in that case. It's a little too long. A delay is fine, but like you still have to. It's easier for a Starfield to keep excitement after a delay, in my opinion. It's a little bit easier for them. This is a smaller game, so.
The people who backed it on Kickstarter,
people who backed it are excited, but
like I don't know, the people who are gonna buy this are gonna buy this.
Exactly.
Right? Like I'm one of those people. Yeah. Like I'm gonna buy it. Like I'm gonna buy this game.
Yeah, that's not an issue. It's like the other fence people. You have to like kind of get to buy it. The fence.
And
people.
Hopefully they'll have like when they get actually closer to release, like sometime next year, maybe in like March or April or something, they will actually actually probably a little earlier than that, maybe early next year or something, or end of this year, they will actually, hopefully they still have enough money to go to actually do some publicity.
That's the thing too, is when you delay,
if they just like shadow drop it or something, that's not gonna be
not gonna work. Yeah, it's not gonna work. You gotta, when you delay, you gotta worry about what your budget still is for your marketing push. So I don't know. It would be interesting if this lines up appropriately for like a game festival for a couple. If they line it up in such a way where like, hey, like, I'm not saying E3 because E3's dead, but like Summer Games Fest, for example, typically is in June, kind of June-ish, July. It would be interesting if they lined this up for a release to be like, for example, late June, and they did their big publicity in Summer Games Fest. Like that could be good. Like that could line up well. So it depends on how much they have to and are willing to spend for that. I'm sure that costs a lot. So, but that might be the play. Is like, oh well, if we delay to Q2 2024, maybe we're able to like piggyback some marketing push into Summer Game Fest. Maybe that's part of the thought process, which would make sense.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't know. I hope it does well.
Yeah. We'll see. I hope it's good. I hope it's good, and that it does well.
If a game is delayed, you gotta hope it's good. Otherwise, you're just like, wow, well, there you go. What'd you delay for? How bad was it before the delay? Okay.
Halo Infinite, looking at
Fucking
you.
Halo Infinite. That game makes me so mad. Okay. So this is the Watcher update. This is the short version. Okay. The patch notes is a scrolling thing
it's huge.
that we're not going to go into. We're going to use the TLDR version. The TLDR version is a reworked magic system, which, by the way, if any of you suffering folks are stuck on like the story mode for chapters 4 and 5 of the story, you're welcome. This is a huge sigh of relief for you, because the turn 60/70 story mode loss is hopefully not going to be a problem anymore.
Yeah, they don't just auto win magic victory on like turn
60,
right?
They actually
slowed down
something.
They slowed down research, and they changed the way the magic victory works. So you have to actually capture the gold wonders.
Exactly. So my assumption is huge sigh of relief. The story missions are now going to be less of a like, I got to win by turn 70, and more of a realistic experience you would play for this game. New and improved underground system. The details of that are obviously more flushed out in the patch notes, but I think a couple highlights are, you can't just, for example, when you excavate, get like a roaming band of enemies just following you around the underground to try and kill you. That doesn't happen anymore. Usually you'll uncover like, I think they said it was like a nest or something protecting a node, like a resource node. There were a couple updates regarding like you can capture a province above ground if you're near like a entranceway. You can capture provinces from the underground to the surface level, but I think you have to be that near that entrance. So the underground's improved. Thank God. The underground needed help. It was a cool idea that needed some more. Crossplay, nothing else to say there. That's great. Research scaling, you mentioned it. Research has been slowed down. And I can tell you right now, that's 100% true. Researching is slower. I played about an hour and a half of a skirmish. I can tell you research is slow. I'll just tell you it's slower. Not in a bad way, but you're not necessarily going to be able to like bull rush tier 3 like you could before.
And they put an affinity requirement on tier 3 too. You need three to research a tier 3.
So that's the other thing, is you can't just have one in. You can't just like bull rush tomes without any sort of like much affinity.
If you've not taken any affinity for that
can't just
type,
take it.
You can't take a tier 3 tome. You'd have to
exactly
still have to take a tier 1 or a tier 2 tome first, or find another way to get affinity. Right.
I also agree with that change. Good. That's a good one. I'm very happy with the speed now. I know that slower might make people a little bit more like, oh, games are longer. But like before, again, you could bull rush tier 5.
There was basically no, like, the early game before you got online, like, took a while to get through, like, tier 1 and maybe a little bit of tier 2. Once you kind of got online, got a couple cities, got your research going, like, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, like, there was basically no mid-game. Mid-game was, like, 10 or 15 turns, and then you're in endgame. Like, you just blasted. There was, like, early game, there was, like, mid-game, and then there was endgame. So,
and that made the barbarian archetype with chaos really powerful
strong,
because they dominate the early game, and since there's no mid game, they basically just dominate most of the game, and then they get to end game, and like even in end game it's still like pretty, it's like good, it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So you like, but that's the problem. Like Barbarian just dominated the early game, so it didn't matter. So that's why Barbarian was always good in the story. You just
They
always pick Barbarian.
slowed down the Empire tree as well. They made like the early nodes more expensive. I think.
They did.
I think they did that a bit ago. But
yeah. So now there's a mid game, which I haven't gotten the sense that I'm there yet. I'm still kind of at the early game stage, but it seems like there's a mid game now, which is great because mid game is really like it's really important. There are some factions like the industrial based faction where you have that industrial affinity. They have like the Zephyr character, the Zephyr Archer.
Zephyr Archers.
The Zephyr Archer is like potentially a really powerful mid game unit. It's a really powerful mid game.
Unfortunately, the rest of that tome kind of sucks.
It kind of sucks, but that's the powerful mid game unit. And before, like you take Zephyr Archer and you're like, okay, well now I'm already at end game, so I'm not really going to use this as much anymore. Like I'll kind of use it, but it's not as good. Like you get to tier 4 and 5 and you want to just start amassing those supercharged superpowered units. Like Zephyr Archer now has a place. The nature one, the nature archer also is a mid game unit. Now that kind of has a place.
Glade Runner.
It's the Glade Runner.
I think that's right.
So now these mid game units have a place, and it's great because you'll feel better about being like, okay, like I want to invest, even though this tome isn't very good, I want to invest in this powerful mid game unit. To me, I like kind of like that. I wish that tome was better, obviously, but at least you feel better about being like, okay, my Zephyr Archer is going to last more than 10 turns in its most powerful form. It could be like now it's maybe 30. You know, it feels better. So I appreciate that Barbarian isn't just the de facto choice now, where you're just like, I have Houndmaster, I am set for the next, you know, since there's no mid game, I'm set. Like my whole experience up to turn 40 or whatever, 50, whatever we get to the end game, because end game you just got to so fast. I'm set. Like I'm set until then with Houndmaster, because Houndmaster was a really dumb unit originally. It was such a dumb unit. The most powerful early game unit. It's still powerful, but so I don't know. Good changes, slowing things down, giving a mid game. I liked it a lot. I liked the idea of it. Also, I'm being able to play a bit more of the DLC changes, and having a mid game is extremely beneficial to the units that do evolutions, because now, like in the early game, you're trying to build to the evolution point, and when there's a mid game, you're hoping that your unit has now evolved, and now your evolved unit can sustain the mid game. It doesn't evolve again, but like you're sustaining the evolved unit into the mid game. You know, that indirectly benefited the evolution tree, which is a tier 1 tree. So that's also like a nice buff to the DLC, because the problem was you would evolve those units, and since there's like barely any mid game, you use them for like 5 to 10 turns, and then you're just like, okay, well I gotta move on. These are not good anymore.
Now I need my tier 4 and tier 5 units.
Now you can evolve those units and sustain them through the mid game a little bit until you get to tier 4. So like there's a couple good indirect changes as a result of that, and the evolution tree from the DLC was like huge for that. And summoning also still is like getting that nerf.
Yeah, they changed the summoning rules where you can only summon either within your borders or next to one of your heroes.
Yep.
Which is good. Being able to summon anywhere on the map is pretty stupid.
That was ridiculous.
It still makes summoning better because, like, you know, it allows you to reinforce your army
quickly,
instantly, instead of like having to hard build a unit from a city and then transport it all the way to like the front lines wherever you're fighting, right?
Yeah,
so,
totally. No, summoning is still powerful.
I don't think that's enough of a fix on that front, but it's a step in the right direction.
Summoning is still good, but the right step was to make sure that you could only summon next to your hero in your base. Like being able to just be like, unit, go over there. It was too powerful.
And then I haven't played it. I haven't seen it in action. Maybe you can explain this, but I think they said they added like a spell slot system, which like limits the number of spells you can cast on the world map, like per turn or something along those lines. I don't remember.
Yes, that's correct. So there is a tooltip now, not a tooltip, but it's like it's very small, and it shows up when you open up the spells on the world map. It says like 2 out of 2. So you can't just like spam stuff.
Spam cheap spells, which to me it's like that's what like the casting points are supposed to be for.
Right.
So I'm not sure why they needed like an extra system on top of it. They should have just like adjusted the casting point economy, but I guess maybe this was an easier fix.
This is an easier fix.
Completely reworking the casting point economy, because you could get your casting points to like, especially if you're playing Wizard King, like you could get like, and using the astral tree, you could have like 3, 4, 500 casting points by like late game, right? So
yeah, and it becomes a problem when you can spam cheap spells and just decimate an army without doing anything. That's the problem. Yeah. It's not really fun. It's not fun for the other person who's just like, okay, my army's dead and I couldn't. What was I supposed to do? There's no interactivity there.
They just spam the same like 10 mana world map spell on your army like 5 times or something like that.
It's like
bam, 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 bam.
I'm like, I can't stop this, so we're just gonna watch my army die. Like, it's just, that's the problem. So like, they did a quick fix. They did the quick fix. The quick fix doesn't fully solve the problem. It's just, for now, this is what you get. That's a quick fix right there. I mean, for now it's okay, but ideal world state you'd want, like future state is, you'd want to actually rework that whole system in such a way where you can't just spam the weak cold spell 10 times on my army to kill them. Like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Have resistance? Like, what if I can't have access to that?
Yeah.
So anyway, they also said there were some other bug fixes and balance changes, but
yeah, of course.
I mean, that's the big stuff. They did talk, by the way, briefly in this, just as another heads up. After Watcher, our next major patch will be Golem update. So Q4 Golem update next couple months. Like the previous Wyvern patch and Dragon Dawn combo, this will be a free update released closer to the long-awaited Empires and Ashes expansion, where Steel will meet the magical world of Age of Wonders. So we're looking at more updates before the end of the year.
I'm excited for the mecha, the technomancer,
the technomancers,
the mecha stuff coming in with that update.
Yeah, the tech stuff should be good. I like the dragon stuff. I like the addition of the Blizzard faction. It's nice to get more factions. I mean, you could add mods to this game and add factions with mods. Like, you could, I guess. Yeah. But it's nice when they're like proactively adding more factions, more I don't remember what they're called, but more like when you pick a faction, you get to choose like 2 different
society traits.
You get to choose all those traits, so it's nice when you get more of those. With golems, I'm sure there's going to be like a very specific faction for golems. I don't know. The patch, everything in this patch, I'm good with. Even the quick fix, I'm good with. Like, a quick fix is perfectly fine as long as you know where the future state's going to be. If this stays for forever, I'll be frustrated, because I'll be like, okay, well, you're just nerfing magic infinite, like, forever like this. Maybe the points scale too. I don't know how it works for you yet.
I would hope you get more. I would imagine you get more as the game goes on, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm struggling to figure out what that is quite yet until I play through a game, but so far I mean I'm playing through it. I can tell there's more quality of life changes, like some more flair here and there. It's still Age of Wonders. The game is still really fun. I'm enjoying it.
I know they did some improvements to the AI in this patch, but they said they're not done with the AI.
Yeah, there was some. Yeah, they did do some.
Because the AI still needs work. That still seems to be like a major complaint, is that the AI still just sucks.
Yeah, the AI leaves something to be desired, I think is what I would say. Leave something to be desired. But it's gonna take time. Like you gotta really put a lot of effort into that. And I'm okay with where we're at right now. Where we're at right now is still really enjoyable. The problem becomes, you know, if you want people to play this game a lot, like your AI needs to be,
and the numbers on
efficient.
Age of Wonders have gone. I mean, the game was hot when it came out.
I'm
but,
sure it's gone down, and
know,
that's
Twitch viewership is basically non-existent now.
Yep.
For it.
That makes, I mean, that makes sense. Like that's what happens. I still think this game is amazing. I hope when we get to the Game Awards season, I certainly hope that this wins an award. I think this game is still amazing as it is right now.
Yeah, they're still getting average, like, our 24-hour peak was 1381.
That's not bad. 13.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean,
okay.
All-time peak was 42,826.
Yeah, this game had a lot of hype coming into it.
Yeah, game got a lot of like YouTube coverage and stuff when it came out, but it's died off pretty hard. But that happens. Other new games come out, people play other things. We'll see it if it has more legs when more expansions come out and stuff like that.
This has just been it's been a great year for games, but a tough year for games too, in the sense that you get a game like this, it's a great game. Then you get a game we're about to talk about, Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is actually knocking on the door of Game of the Year. And I'm kind of shocked at how much reception it got. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it.
Don't forget, obviously, speaking of Game of the Year, Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom still exists. So
it also, that game came out a week or two after for Age of Wonders.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's tough.